What you're going to see now is the family's first return to the shopping mall since they began RDI. And this family showed a lot of courage after 3 months in doing this. In fact, if they'd have consulted with us beforehand, we'd have probably told them not to take such an extreme step. But they really came to believe in themselves, and they had a much more accurate sense of Neely's level of competence than we could have. And that is exactly what we want to have happen. We want parents to be the ones who really become the experts in their children rather than the professionals. I want you to notice here that just by stopping, Neely's mother creates a natural decision or reference point. It's a good example of how you can take any everyday activity like walking together and turn it into an opportunity for numerous occasions of referencing. Now we come to a second decision point, although there's now an added complicating factor. They're at a natural decision point because the mall branches off in different directions. Neely spots the escalators, and of course, his initial reaction is to want to go towards them. And he indicates that. But Mother decides she wants to go in a different direction. In the past, this would have produced a tantrum so severe that the family would have had to leave. But now you can see Neely just shrugs a little bit, accepts it, and goes off to see what Mom is interested in. Now we're approaching the moment of truth. They've actually gone to the hallway now where they're going to be approaching the escalators. They sit for a minute as they see the escalators and get ready. Neely, true to form, gets very excited and comments to his mother about escalators going down and escalators going up. Now, at first glance, this may seem like a fixation again, but let's take a deeper look. What we're really seeing now is that rather than forming a static system with the escalators now have become a prop, a background, to share a new experience with his mother. Neely isn't just interested in riding the escalators, now he wants to see his mother's reaction to what they're about to do, to anticipate their shared experience. It's a whole different way he is reacting to this escalator than he did before RDI.
Escalators go down. Yeah. Escalators go up. Escalators go up. Oh, no. No, let's walk back.
Now Neely is approaching the escalator, and you can see he's several steps ahead of his mother, and she's not making any attempt to hold on to him and bring him back. In fact, Neely has permission to go on that escalator himself if he so chooses. He certainly is competent in that. Now, the last time, remember, that he was on an escalator, the last disaster, he would not get off. All he wanted to do was ride that escalator, and nobody else existed in his mind, just him and the up and the down escalators. This time we're going to see, has mastering stage 2 changed the way he views the world? Is he going to just go on and ride this escalator? Remember, there's no punishment if he does. There's no reward for stopping. And they certainly haven't practiced going on escalators since the dreadful experiences they've had in the past. Or is he going to want to share this experience with his mother? Let's watch. Now you see Neely and his mother at the top of the stairs preparing to go down. It's a good example how referencing can turn into a simple conversation, a true reciprocal conversation. Neely is eager to go down, and of course he's nodding yes. His mother is saying, wait, not ready yet. And the dialogue continues. Right? Neely is content to wait, but he certainly is going to express his opinion. What we like about this is that it's not Neely taking a passive role. It's him realizing that he can be the referencer as well as the person who references another person. And it really is the origins of a true reciprocal conversation, even though it's going on completely without words. Now we come to the final test of Neely's mastery. He's now leaving the escalator, coming down, the down escalator, and he has a decision to make. Where do we go next? Now, in the past, it would have been no decision at all. Neely would have chosen, without referencing, to go back up the up escalator and continue this static cycle. Watch what happens, because this is fascinating. In fact, when Neely is given the choice now, he points in a direction in the exact opposite direction of the escalators. In fact, he is choosing to move away from the escalators. And what has he done? Well, he's had that experience already. Right? And because now he's motivated to be in a dynamic system, he's looking for a new area of uncertainty. The escalators don't provide enough productive uncertainty, so he's choosing along to share a new experience with his mother and add new uncertainty and new excitement. A completely different way now that he is thinking and perceiving his world. We've built the foundations of emotion sharing, so we've got that focus of attention on people's faces and gazing built in already. We've also built in referencing. And now we're ready to move on to the next foundational step. And that is what we call coordination in stage 3. In coordination, you're now moving to a new level of complexity. As you see, each stage adds a new level of complexity in your thinking process, in what you have to juggle, how many pieces of data you have to juggle, and what's important. In stage 3 now, you're going to have to reference while you are acting with another person. And the thing that you're referencing is not some object out there or whether you turn left or right. Now you have to reference the degree of your coordination with another person. Are we together? Are we not together? Are we close? Are we far? Am I behind? Am I in front? Now, if you did what you did in stage 2 and tried to stop while you made a decision about this, it wouldn't work. Imagine that you're walking down the street with someone and you're trying to figure out if you are side by side with them. And then imagine that you decided to reference, so you stopped to see where you were. Well, the other person would continue to walk on and you'd be actually farther apart. So what you have to be able to do now is to simultaneously engage in some action and reference the degree of relationship with another person. So what you're referencing now is not the other person or object, and it's not you. It's the degree to which you're in relation or coordination. You're measuring, when you evaluate, you're measuring the degree of how are you in relationship to me? How am I in relationship to you? So you can see it's a much more complex form of coordination, yet it's essential for very, very basic things that babies learn to master by 15 months of age. Interestingly enough, if you give a 6-month-old a piece of string and you give them one end and you take the other end, the 6-month-old will pull it out of your hand. They haven't gotten any concept of coordination yet. By the age of 9 months, if you give the same child a piece of string, one end, and you take the other, they'll pull just hard enough to tug on it, but not so hard as to pull it out of your hand. In other words, they've already started to learn coordination. They're pulling just hard to go back and forth with you. And they've learned to regulate their actions to achieve that back and forth coordination. That's how early on neurotypical children become proficient in coordination. And again, we find that almost all people in the spectrum, regardless of IQ and language, don't develop this proficiency. Okay? So now we're referencing while we're engaged in ongoing activities. We're taking very simple regulatory actions to stay coordinated, right? And we're learning that you can have sameness amidst change. That even though we might speed up a little bit or we might slow down, we can still stay together. Even though we might pull harder and softer, we can remain coordinated. Even though we might throw the ball higher or lower, we can still play the game of catch and keep the ball going. Even though these changes are occurring, we can still see the sameness or the pattern in our relationship beneath them. So we learn now how to see sameness amidst change, which is a critical ability you need if you're going to sort out what is important and what is not important to process amidst all the change that we're exposed to. Now, how do we determine whether we're mastering stage 3 objectives? Well, the critical part is that you have to become aware that your tendency is to overcompensate and to do all the work of regulating to maintain coordination. For instance, when you're with someone in the autism spectrum and you're walking down the street, you have to become aware that the reason you're staying together and walking together is because you're slowing down when your partner slows down, you're speeding up when they speed up. You're actually doing all the regulating work. So in order to teach them to coordinate, you're going to have to become aware and limit the amount that you're overcompensating. Now, the second thing is that you don't want to introduce too much variation, because we're talking about someone who's a novice in coordination. So while you're not overcompensating, you're also going to be maintaining a steady pace. So if you're walking together, you're not going to constantly speed up and slow down, but you are going to then require your partner to stay with you. Because no matter how hard you try to keep a steady pace, of course, there are going to be moments when you're a little faster and a little slower, and your partner will have to regulate their actions to stay with you. So that is one of the ways you're going to be testing this.